Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Motorsports of Chai. Today, Amaan and Gauresh, we would be taking you for another short episode because our two members, Rod and Inesh, aren't here with us today. So, Aman, you watched the British GP, right? Yesterday.
I watched the British GP. I watched the sprint race as well. So yep.
So, what are your reviews on the sprint race? The sprint race first. So, what are your reviews on the sprint race?
Uh, like it was kind of a weird because the schedule was changed for the sprint race. So most people were confused. Most of my friends called me and asked what is happening. Why is FP2 on Saturday? Why was there quali? And kind of that. And again, when you insist cost cap and when you are when you say the teams that you have very limited amount of components to use over the race championship thing, then if you add one more race to the weekend, it kind of sh- uh, you know shuffles the budget. And what if someone ends up in the crash? Then the cost to repair the car, then engine components, or you have to take a great penalty. It was kind of I would say 60-40. 60% I was not happy.
That happened with Sergio Perez, right? Sergio Perez spun and he had a DNF in the sprint race and took a grid penalty and started from the pit lane for the Grand Prix, Sunday's Grand Prix. And I mean, I enjoyed the sprint race. I thoroughly enjoyed the sprint race. But yeah, if you look at from your perspective of cost cap and the schedule wise, yes, it's a bit different, agreed. But for when there's change, there's also fun, and I would take it as the sprint race was really good because Alonso was back. Daniel Ricciardo made a late breaking move on Alonso, and I could actually say that he is back, not completely back, but he's in form with his McLaren, and he has understood the car because in the race he performed so well. He was right behind Norris all the time. I mean, that's not what I expect. I expect him to be ahead of Norris, but he was right behind Norris and up with him. He had kept the pace similar to Norris and he finished P5. So that was a good start. And the sprint race was really good because Hamilton started on pole and Verstappen overtook him and he won the sprint race. So the 3 points he got was really good. And we saw the winner Reith come back after 1985. That was a first as well in the 2000s era. And what else could you possibly take away from the British Grand Prix?
uh, I would say it was good. If I was good, first of all, being a non-Ferrari fan, it was good. So it's a very love and hate relationship with Ferrari. So when you have a favorite driver in Ferrari, you support Ferrari. But when you don't have a favorite driver, you don't support Ferrari. But for the championship we have right now, I was definitely supporting Charles Leclerc yesterday. And I kind of had a moment where on our group I just said, what if Charles Leclerc wins? I wrote that text, and the moment after that Charles Leclerc had the message that his engine is cutting off and there is some problem with his engine. So I don't know, but yeah, the victory was taken from him from like 2 laps before the checkered flag. It was bad, but yeah, it was good. The racing was good. uh, Sebastian Vettel kind of had a moment when he spun, and then he had a problem with the car, and then he retired very late into the race. That was very not so good. Stroll brought home some points. That was good enough. There was some racing in the orders. We can see Carlos Sainz racing, then Charles Leclerc being on the move and defending against people. That was good. And let's talk about the very controversial moment of the race, lap one incident with two championship I think fighters, or two championship uh, people. That is Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen. What's your take on the uh, crash?
I would say that it was a racing incident according to me because, like Toto Wolff said, it takes two to tango, and I agree completely with Toto Wolff. It takes two to tango, and Max Verstappen, while he was ahead, he had left Lewis Hamilton a car's width and just a tinge more. But I mean, there was literally nothing you could do because the adrenaline rush is so high at those moments, and Lewis was trying his hard to turn in. I'm not defending Lewis, but he was trying hard to turn in and he made contact with Verstappen, and Verstappen went off and crashed and DNF'd. So, I mean, not, I'd say it was a racing incident. There was controversy, I agree, with Red Bull's Christian Horner and Mercedes Toto Wolff, and the comment section were raging when that happened. But I mean, for me personally, it was not such a controversial crash as it would be for other people because I watched the replay quite a few times because it was being shown on TV as well, and I quickly opened it on YouTube. And I mean, it was just like very, very bound to happen because Verstappen and Hamilton were too punchy on the first lap. Since the lights went out, Verstappen and Hamilton had been so punchy that Hamilton was on the inside into turn one at Silverstone, and Verstappen was forced off by Hamilton. I agree that happens on first laps, but I mean, drivers have to be aware as well because after the race, I saw Max Verstappen's Instagram post, and he said in his post it was written it a 51G impact. A 51G impact is just too much. I mean, F1 drivers are entitled to take that, but I mean, it was just too much. You while racing, you don't want to harm somebody else's life. And yeah, I agree with Max's words that the way the victory was celebrated was just a bit unsportsmanlike and disrespectful. I agree, but I mean, Lewis Hamilton just achieved a phenomenal record, that is winning 8 times in front of his home crowd at his home track. So I mean, if it was Max in the case, I I think the result would have been quite similar. But yeah, I mean, Lewis Hamilton just achieved a phenomenal record of winning 8 British Grand Prix. So Lewis would have celebrated that either ways if Max would have been in the race and Lewis would have passed him. Yeah, but that was the hurtful moment for me. That this moment, the crash was second hurtful. The first one was when Charles Leclerc got passed because that's when basically I focused on the race because all the while I was just doing a lot of stuff. But when Charles Leclerc got passed by Lewis Hamilton, it was, I mean, immensely hurtful because Charles Leclerc was doing absolutely stellar. Because I mean, you could see he was at the right place at the right time. Lap one, just as Max Verstappen went off, he put down the foot on the throttle. He passed Lewis Hamilton, and I mean, the job was done. It was considered done, but he had engine problems. He had to remap his engine while driving at 200 kilometers plus hours, and I mean, it was pretty hurtful when I actually looked at the post-race interview with Jensen Button, and I mean, I could feel the pain behind Charles' smile. That was the emotion, and while there was pain on the other side, there was happiness, joy, and excitement on the other. With Mercedes being on the top step again, with Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas back on the podium, and Leclerc. I mean, Ferrari really out delivered themselves because I mean after the sprint race I thought that Ferrari were not really competitive at the British Grand Prix, but when they had the medium tires the race just turned on for Ferrari. It just turned on, but Charles Leclerc had engine problems, and I mean, those were the spicy moments during the race. So, and as well, Perez. I thought that Perez would go long when he was on hards initially. I thought that he'd go long up until lap 40 or 44. He'd go long and then he'd pit for softs. But the
and then set the fastest laps.
yeah, then start to set fastest laps and start overtaking again. But yeah, that didn't happen. I mean, Red Bull really, I mean, took one on the chin and they put the blow in their legs while doing that. I expected Perez to be in the top five this race because he had the pace. It's just that in the sprint race he spun and he had to start from the pit lane because he got a few components changed. But I mean, it was quite a sight to see the whole race. Yeah, that's about it from my end.
I agree with you. Charles Leclerc did what Fernando Alonso did in 2012. Right place, right time with the car, which is not even deserve to be on the top, like in the podium fights. And Charles Leclerc did that. Kudos to him. Like right now, I'm not very big of a Ferrari fan. Like when Sebastian Vettel was there, but yeah, Charles Leclerc did a very commendable job yesterday. I would say there was a time when Ferrari was 1-2 and uh, Science pitted, but I think there was some problem with the wheel nut. I don't remember which side, but there was some problem. But yeah, Charles Leclerc, commendable job. First thing. Second, I would say the celebration. Yeah, I accept that if you win your home GP, 8 times in a row, and then surpassing Nigel Mansell and the greats, Nigel Mansell, Jim Clark, and people like that. Yeah, you celebrate like anything, but yeah, I agree and I stand and I support Max Verstappen and his words and his choice of words on that Instagram post. I support that 100%. Yeah, see, I what I thought when I when I rewatched the British GP on the Hotstar full race. Then I watched many British GPs and that particular corners. Uh, for example, I'll tell you, 2014 Alonso versus Vettel. Man, they were wheel to wheel. Okay, they were literally touching, but they didn't come together. I think Vettel was then swooped around the outside, which is good enough. See, if you are fighting for a championship and that to a this close championship, you should not do this kind of things. I'm sorry about that. This I don't agree with Lewis Hamilton. He had the space. See that corner, you cannot go wheel to wheel. You cannot go side to side. That is not a hanger straight or Lewis Hamilton straight, or that is not Brazil turn one, or for example a Barcelona turn one. You have to give the space. And Lewis kind of a turn to hit the apex, but he was not hitting the apex. He was coming towards the Max Verstappen, and yeah, it was a very big crash. And I'm glad Max Verstappen is. I'm glad. I'm thankful to God Max Verstappen is okay. He's walking. He just had a little bit of concussions, but he's back. He's okay. The checks are done. Now I would really love to see what this turns out to be in the championship, because Max and Red Bull are still leading. Uh, I really want Max Verstappen to do what Lewis Hamilton did in 2018. Came back stronger than ever. The mind games, the delivery on the track, epic. I just want Max Verstappen to like do what Lewis Hamilton did to Vettel in 2018. I think now everyone is supporting Max Verstappen, like the McLaren fans or Ferrari fans or the Red Bull fans, obviously. But right now, everybody like is supporting Max. See, I agree with Christian Horner's word. This is a very hollow victory, and I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, thank God Max Verstappen is safe. All the health checks were okay. Yeah, I mean, it was not a sight to see. Max crashed because you don't want to be in that position
This
because
crash.
the car was trashed. The car was trashed. It was completely broken and undrivable. I agree that I actually thought that the car could be fixed, during the red flag and Max could be sent out, because I just saw one part of the crash and then I just started googling and everything. But I was wrong. The car couldn't have been fixed. I was completely off, I would say, and the car was just crashed. Thank God Max Verstappen's okay. And
When Max came out of the car and he was taken to the hospital in the ambulance, Red Bull mechanics were literally looking at the car for 5 minutes and just uh, thinking what should we do now to revive this car and revive the components and the engine and whatnot. They were just standing looking the underside of the car, and when the crane picked up the car, oh my god, the next, I think, right side, left side, I don't remember, but trash, completely gone.
yeah, I mean, the Red Bull mechanics would have been in awe. I mean, in sad awe, not a very happy awe. And they would have just been really completely blown away by just the look of the car itself. And yeah, I mean, pretty sad for Red Bull and for Max Verstappen.
Yeah, like, if I somewhere feel Lewis Hamilton was desperate to be in the front because of his home fans and the home adrenaline you get. He should have waited for one more lap and he should have passed Max Verstappen either on the Hanger Straight or the Hamilton Straight. I don't know if they are the same, or Wellington Straight, but yeah, he should have passed on the straights, not that corner. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, with the fact said that Mercedes was back on the pace, I mean, is Mercedes really back on the pace, or did they just turn up the engines for Silverstone? Because I haven't seen this happening in quite a long time, because a team goes down against their competitors and then they just come back one race. I mean, it's a bit undigestible for me, because if Mercedes just turned their engines up for Silverstone, it would be quite sad to see, because in the next race we'd actually come to know, in the practice sessions, we'd come to know that if Mercedes was just back for that one race, or are they back for the whole season. Because then if they are back for the whole season, it's going to be a close title fight. It's going to be a really super close title fight between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. uh yeah, I mean, is Mercedes really back? It's a question to think upon.
This first lap incident reminds me of 2012 Spa. Man, that was a very horrible crash. And remember how Lewis Hamilton was there, like, to Roman Grosjean, "Are you stupid?" And can't you see? I feel like Max Verstappen would do that. I really want to see what Max Verstappen and Christian Horner does in next press conference at Hungaroring. I for sure I have seen the post, and most of the, like, Max fan are saying that this is the war and we have declared the war, and all the love and respect between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen is over. I feel like, yes, now it's over. Now there is no respect between them, because for sure Lewis knew he wouldn't have made that corner that speed on that angle. Come on, if you are a 7-time world champion, you know how to make a corner on what speed and how would car react. And when you have won your that Silverstone GP is like there is a backyard. It's like अपनी गली है वो. We know everything about our street, when to turn, what hurdles, what pedals we have, and where to brake, and every fucking thing. And Lewis Hamilton, nope, sorry. And
Well,
let's see what the championship fight holds for us in Hungaroring, because in Hungaroring there will be some spicy words coming from both ends. That is for sure. Christian Horner would never back down in a word fight, and Max Verstappen would never back down in a track fight. We all know that. So
Yeah, I mean, let's wait for the Hungarian GP. When is that? I guess it's in the
first
next
August.
next week, right? Th- Yeah, so there's a week's break in the middle. Yeah,
So there is
there's a weekend's
so
break
there
in the
is
middle.
Hungaroring on the 1st August. There is MotoGP Austria, MotoGP race in Austria, and then Styria, 8th August, and then I think on 15th August again, and then there is Spa on 29th August. F1.
Okay, that's great. So thank you, man, for being here with us today.
Thank you,
Being here with me, I'd say, because it feels quite a bit lonely without Rod and Inesh.
Rod and Anish. Yeah,
Uh,
we hope to see them
yep.
next weekend or next week with
Yeah, yeah.
Formula One.
We surely see them. All right. So thank you. Stay safe, everyone.